Hello, this is Justin here. Welcome back. I'm actually at my local library today because I thought it would be fun to get out of the house and out of my studio. I feel like I've been cooped up for the last 4 months, and I thought it'd be fun to come here, rent one of these private study rooms. So it's very quiet, it's very calm, very chill. There's not a crying baby around. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you about My Very Punny Dad and sort of give you a behind the scenes on how this book got made. So my friend Ryan, who happens to be the author, hit me up with his book idea. And I was actually working on this book while I was running the campaign for Two Hearts. So this was kind of like a super secretive project, a very indie project. He was going to publish it through Amazon's KDP publishing service, which is what I used to publish when I was little books with. Before they were known as Creative Space. And then over the years, the format has changed. And now they go by Amazon KDP Publishing. Right around the time my daughter was born, I was of the mindset that I probably wouldn't be working on any big jobs or anything. And then Ryan kind of came and said, hey, I have this idea. It's a daddy-daughter book. And I was like, oh, that hit me right in the feels. I think I needed to balance the running of a Kickstarter campaign and being a dad, and I wanted to throw one more creative thing in there. So I said yes, and I'm going to show you what all this looks like on paper and how we got to this end product. Okay, so and then I'm going to do a little commentary over the making of one of the pages. So yeah, let's take a look at how My Very Punny Dad was put together. Here's the first thing he sent me to ask if I was interested in the project. It was his manuscript, because originally I told him that he should pitch the book and see if he could get it made through a kids publisher or something like that, just to give that experience, that taste of what it's like to pitch a book, you know, for him being a first-time author. He sent me this, so he has here the format: picture book, ages 5 through 8, approximately 850 words, and it's very much written in a rhyme stance sort of setup. 2 and 4 lines: rise, eyes, see, me, and that's pretty much how it's written throughout the whole manuscript, which was about 8 pages. After I agreed to it and said, like, yeah, let's work on this project, I had then asked him, like, tell me what your vision is in terms of how you want to see this laid out, and like, where would you like illustrations? And like, having read through the manuscript a couple times, I had some ideas in my head already of what pages I would like to illustrate some of these verses. And so I told him to go through, and he sent me this, which was basically a dummy book. And he, in his mind, where he thought he would see illustrations and for what verses. And he pretty much did this for the whole thing. And then I looked over it, and I would go ahead and make my own edits in terms of the layout, like where would I see better use of the illustrations and the verses. So I would go in and kind of make edits of my own, and you know, I drew lots of arrows and saying, like, you know, illustration should be over here, we should combine these 2 verses. All together it ended up being around 32 pages for the rough dummy book for the layout. I would then go here. So these are my rough sketches for the cover, which I ended up doing these last. So I went right into this thought process here. And so what I would do is I'd write out the verse and think where I would like it to be on the page. Basically, I used this first dummy book, start sketching out my ideas and thinking, like, okay, this is where this verse is going to be. Going through and thinking aesthetically, visually, where would I like to see some kind of illustration I would make little notes for myself here, maybe separate verses onto pages 6 and 7 with their own illustrations. So, I would make notes like that, but I would basically go through the whole book and the whole draft, and I would lay everything out. And I'd say that the translation from this initial storyboards, initial rough concepts, was probably about like 89%. So a lot of this stayed. Then this actually ended up being the back cover because Ryan thought about ending the page with where the dad turns out the light. He thought that was a better ending than sort of wrapping up the summary of what the book was. So I told him, why don't we make this the back cover? This last verse that you wrote, you see my dad is quite a guy, I sure do love him tons and everything that makes him dad, including all his puns. And I said, let's make this the back cover because that really sums up the book. And so he went with that, which was cool. So then that basically shifted the page count a little bit. What I did after that was I brought it into my iPad. Ryan was very open to having everything done digitally. So that way I wouldn't have to mess with any paper and pencils and inks and stuff. And this was a really exciting challenge for me because I was gonna do the entire book in Procreate, including the titles and all the text. And it was going to be a fun challenge. I know I did this earlier with 2 Hearts, but this was like a bigger project. So I wanted to test myself. And the funny thing is, too, I did it this way, and then they actually released a new update for Procreate where you can make pages with one file. So what I mean by that is if I go here to Canvas and then click this Page Assist, what will happen is you'll see this here at the bottom. It'll turn everything into basically a readable PDF. And it's funny, I did the entire book and then Procreate releases this new update. And I was like, oh, so it could have been done even easier, but that's okay. So yeah, this is basically the entire book in Procreate files. And what I would do is I would take these rough thumbnails, scan them, and then bring them into Procreate. The next thing I'm going to show you is basically I'm going to talk about that creative process, what that was like. Here's some of the initial rough sketches and concepts for the title characters of the dad and the narrator. I did base it off Ryan and his family because I felt like if I tried to make like a completely different family, it would be a little bit of a disservice to the story because it's really about him and his daughters, and Ryan is a very punny guy. He likes to make a lot of puns. So it would be weird not to model the characters after them. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a time lapse of creating one of the pages from My Very Punny Dad. This is actually one of the more challenging pages in the book because there was a lot going on in terms of what was being described in the verses, as well as my idea for the illustration and wondering if that can all fit and work and feel pretty cohesive. And this is a fun trick working digitally in general, is that I can bring in my concept art, my rough concept art, and make sure that I nail that shape down for the characters so that it's pretty consistent throughout the whole book. The characters themselves went through a few iterations, and if you follow me on my Patreon, you can see some of the concept art pages as well as some of the portfolio pages for My Very Punny Dad that I came up with, and you can see sort of the evolution of the process of going towards a more cartoony style, especially with the eyeball shapes and as well as the nose and head shapes. I was very much leaning towards Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, that kind of slapsticky type of animation and character design work, because I felt like it fit the story, especially because it's a story that is very vivid with puns, and that sort of imagination can take you all kinds of places. Here's me inking the page, and I am using a dry brush because I wanted to have this texture-like, organic type of feel to the pages. And I went with this really nice dry brush that made it feel a lot like my sketch work. And I was always a big fan of my construction lines in my art, and was always bummed, I guess you could say, when I had to ink over them and then I would erase the pencil line work. So I felt like this is a project where I can sort of leave some of those construction lines in and make it feel really rough and sketchy, and I felt like it worked for this particular book. And then when it came to coloring, I kept that very loose as well and used a lot of different texture brushes. And here's so you can see me pull up some reference from other pages, color reference from other pages, which was really funny because when the new Procreate update came out, it had a swatch history. They added a swatch history, so I didn't have to go in and constantly bring up the color references, which, you know, I could have created an entire color palette for, but I didn't feel like doing that. So when it came to picking the font and deciding where the text was going to go, that was a bit more of a challenge. And you'll see it come up really quick and go away, but it was a long process, making sure that there was a font that we both liked, more importantly that Ryan liked, as well as a different font for the puns, and really trying to find space for it. So you'll see here in a minute, once I go through that, I actually end up moving the truck bubble to above him. Then I move the dad over off the page to see, like, to show that he's sort of coming in off to the side. And once we finished the text, the layout, we went through any minor corrections. Ryan went through Amazon, uploaded the files, and as of October 29th, 2021, the book became available to purchase on Amazon's KDP publishing service. There's that instant access. And look at that, we have 8 5-star ratings so far. So if you're interested in purchasing a copy of My Very Punny Dad, look at that. It makes a great gift for new dads, and it makes a great Christmas present for parents who love reading rhyme books with their kids. I think it's a very cool book, and I'm so happy that I got to be a part of it and really help Ryan's vision come to light here. And yeah, we had such a fun time putting this together. So that is it for now. Thank you for watching this video. Give it a like if you can, and we will see you on the next. Take care.